Freebuilding is the best way to improve your mechanics, but over the past week I noticed my builds have gotten pretty repetitive and I felt like I wasn't improving. Something Polarized recommends doing to improve this is watching and replicating what pros do, so I copied 4 free builds from pro players to learn new moves. Starting with the build from Polarized, this was pretty simple to replicate since it consisted mainly of triple edits up and down. One move to take away from the free build is his cone flip. While it looks like it's just for flash, it actually has purpose in fights. If you're running in one direction and you see an opponent's claim to your tops, they can get a free shot before you're able to escape. The only thing you could do to protect yourself is edit the cone and get out the box, so you want to practice getting comfortable with reset and editing your tiles. Another variation is to flip a stair then edit out the box. This is super easy to practice and something you should be able to do in case you find yourself in that situation. If not, it at least makes for added difficulty in free builds. Something important to note when copying pros free builds is to pay attention and replicate how they move their crosshair. When Polarized edits, there's little wasted movement and he's connecting all of his edits. One thing I saw across all his free builds was the way he edited this wall. For me, it's habit to edit towards the left on 4 tiles, but Polarized edits towards the center, making for less crosshair travel between editing the wall and stair. So when practicing this build, I made sure to mimic the same crosshair movements, which made hitting edits a lot easier. As advanced as this looked, this was one of the easiest builds to replicate since there were only 2 moves that weren't triple edits. First being the side jump into editing up to the side. When doing this move, try to place the high walls before catching yourself, that way you have the piece control in case the player is up there. This challenged my movement and edits by changing the direction and forcing me to edit from a different angle. On the right side going left I have no issue, but on the left side going right, the movement and edits feel awkward to me, which is something I have to continue to work on. The second move is just jumping over a PM bar into a stair and wall edit. It's not the most functional edit, but it's seen in a lot of pro free builds and it's still good for adding variety and difficulty to your builds. Out of the 4 free builds, this free build has 2 moves I use the most. First is his cone edit 180. There's a couple of different ways you can do this, but in this clip, Braids edits the front 2 tiles. He didn't do it in this clip, but in fights, after editing the cone up, you also want to cone it, that way if a player runs up, they're cut off and you can edit on them. An easier variation of this is to edit the back 2 tiles, turning the cone into a ramp. That way if the player runs into it, you don't also have to cone them to cut off their path. In this clip, I was able to catch the player on the cone, box them, and get a free kill. One thing I noticed when watching Braids do this move was just like Polar edited the wall to the center. I still had the habit of editing towards the left, which forced me to mouse reset in order to hit this 180 and edit the cone because of how far my crosshair had to travel as opposed to just editing to the center. It seems like pros always have their crosshairs centered and ready to hit their next edit, so that's something I started to keep in mind when free building. The second move is the side jump. I use this the most when fighting because it requires no setup and you can make a variety of moves from this position. All you have to do is place a wall to your right and front, then jump on the stair and block your head with a cone. If you didn't have anything protecting your head prior to this, you'll have to place this lower wall before placing the other two. When I first tried to do this move, I would either end up under the stair or placing a floor above my head. So to prevent this, you want to make sure you stay to the left side of the stair. Then once you land on the stair, make sure you're looking down to place the cone. When in a build fight, you may be worried about your top being exposed before placing a cone, so to prevent that, you could do a more advanced version where you place a cone on top of the walls, then land on the ramp. That way you're blocking your tops ahead of time, preventing any damage from above.
Playing Minecraft. Oh, okay.
Opposite of the last free build, this one was more of a pattern, making it easy to remember and replicate. After a few triple edits up and down, it's high walls, cone 90, protected side jump, cone 90, cone flip, then cone 90. The cone 90 is one of the simplest and safest ways to gain elevation or change direction, making it useful for in-game scenarios. All you have to do is edit the cone above you, place a wall, cone your top, then edit and reset the cone in the direction you want to go. You could also use a stair instead of a cone if that makes it easier. The protected side jump is another simple build where all you have to do is edit the back tile of your floor, then place a wall to prevent getting pieced or shot from your side. While in the air, place a wall in front of you, then catch yourself with the floor, and while looking down, place a stair to block your head and back. To make it easier, you could just place a cone to place the wall through that, but it might cause you to get blocked. While the more advanced version would be to place the cone on top of your wall, then catch yourself to prevent getting hit if the opponent is 2 or more levels above you. The last move is just side jumping in the high walls. High walls are the easiest and most effective way to piece control players. Here he edited his cone and floor, then high walled in front and to the left. Doing this allows him to control more area and allow him to move and piece control from different angles. When I first started copying these builds, I found myself messing up a lot. There were a lot of moves I had to learn while also trying to break bad crosshair habits. While it was frustrating at first, I knew once I finally learned it, my mechanics would be better. Making mistakes and doing things outside your comfort zone is the key to improvement. Just make sure you're actually learning from your mistakes as opposed to doing the same thing over and over. When copying pro free builds, the main thing you should focus on is learning new things. Especially at beginner level, you don't need to focus on copying the free build one-on-one. My edit speed isn't the best and I got hung up on a lot of the quad edits. If I wanted to increase my edit speed, I could have continued to do them until I wasn't messing up, but my goal was to learn new moves. So I just replaced the cone with a stair, making it easier for me to go through while still being able to perform those moves. I know on high ping some of these moves are more difficult, so it may be beneficial to eliminate some of the unnecessary edits and just focus on the move itself. After copying these 4 free builds, I definitely saw improvement in my crosshair placement and edit speed and was able to add a lot of variety to my free builds. To recap the main takeaways, minimize your crosshair movement by connecting your edits as well as keeping your crosshair centered, focus on learning and adding new moves instead of copying the exact builds, and remember messing up a bunch of times is part of improving. I'll also recap the moves so you can add them to your builds. If you have any fighting related topics you want me to cover, let me know in the comments. And if you enjoyed the video, be sure to like and subscribe and use code HOWL in the item shop. Thanks for watching, and I'll catch you guys later.